Forget what they told you. Forget oil. Forget the old battle lines. The true Cold War of the 21st century isn't fought in distant European trenches, nor across vast oceans. It's hidden right now, on an invisible battlefield, inside your pocket, inside your home, inside your future. This is the relentless hunt for critical minerals, elements as obscure as they are vital, the very backbone of modern technology, from your smartphone to artificial intelligence, from clean energy to the weapons that defend nations. Whoever controls these rare materials controls the world. Whoever doesn't will be at its mercy. This documentary will pull back the curtain. We will expose the shocking truth behind the silent, yet brutal resource war unfolding between the greatest powers. Discover how dependence on these essential materials is reshaping alliances, igniting new vulnerabilities, and dictating the fate of nations. The stakes have never been higher. If you are ready to uncover the secrets that govern our global future, to see the war that no one told you about, then join those who dare to ask. Subscribe now to History's Lineage and unveil the hidden lines that move history. The very air you breathe, the ground beneath your feet, it holds a secret that quietly underpins every aspect of modern life, yet remains largely unseen, unheard, and profoundly misunderstood. We're talking about critical minerals. These aren't your everyday metals like iron or copper, but a unique, almost mystical class of elements, often found in minuscule quantities, whose properties are utterly indispensable to the technologies defining our century. For centuries, geopolitics was shaped by the hunt for gold, silver, coal, and then, most famously, oil. Empires rose and fell on the black gold's ebb and flow, but the 21st century ushered in a new era, powered not by burning fossil fuels, but by complex networks of information and renewable energies. This paradigm shift demanded a new kind of resource. Suddenly, obscure elements like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and the entire family of rare earth elements, neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, transformed from geological curiosities into the most coveted treasures on Earth. Their value, once negligible, now far surpasses that of precious metals, not in sheer weight, but in strategic importance. This isn't just about their presence. It's about their unique atomic structures that make modern innovation possible. Consider the humble smartphone. It contains dozens of these critical minerals. Your electric vehicle? Its battery, the very heart of its power, is a complex cocktail of lithium, cobalt, and nickel. The immense wind turbines harnessing clean energy from the air, they rely on powerful rare earth magnets. Even the most advanced defense systems, the precision-guided missiles, the stealth aircraft, and the satellite communication networks that power our modern world, all are utterly dependent on these essential materials. Without them, the promise of a truly digital future, a green energy revolution, and superior national security simply evaporates. They are quite literally the backbone of modern technology. So why are these elements suddenly the epicenter of a geopolitical battle? The answer lies in their unique distribution and the complex, often fragile supply chains that bring them to market. Unlike oil, which is found in many countries, the mining and, crucially, the processing of many critical minerals are highly concentrated. For decades, one nation saw the future more clearly than any other. While the West was preoccupied with fossil fuels, China systematically invested, dominated, and perfected the entire supply chain, from extraction to refining. Today, China controls over 80% of the world's processed rare earths, and a significant portion of other vital minerals, effectively holding the keys to the future. This isn't merely an economic advantage. It's a profound strategic vulnerability for nations like the United States and its allies. Imagine a world where the production of everything from your laptop to the latest fighter jet could be halted at a moment's notice, not by a conventional war, but by the flick of a switch in a distant processing plant. This newfound dependency has ignited an unseen battle, a silent resource war that is forcing nations to reevaluate their alliances, redraw their strategic maps, and frantically search for alternatives. the era of abundant, easily accessible resources defining the global power balance is over. We are entering a new, precarious age where the invisible elements beneath our feet hold the power to dictate the fate of nations. For decades, while the industrial giants of the West were consumed by the pursuit of oil, securing drilling rights, managing pipelines, and navigating the turbulent waters of the Middle East, a different game was being played, quietly, systematically, on the other side of the world. As the 20th century gave way to the 21st, Western powers remained fixated on conventional energy and manufacturing. But one nation, with an unparalleled long-term vision and a keen understanding of emerging technological trends, was looking ahead, far ahead. China saw not just the immediate future, but the very foundation of what was to come. The ubiquitous digital age, powered by tiny yet mighty elements. This wasn't merely a lucky coincidence of geology. It was a meticulously executed, multi-decade geopolitical strategy. While other nations viewed rare earth elements and other critical minerals as industrial byproducts or niche materials, China recognized their true strategic value. Beginning in the 1980s and accelerating in the early 2000s, Beijing launched an aggressive state-backed campaign. It wasn't just about mining dominance within its own borders, though China possesses the largest known reserves of many of these minerals. Their ambition stretched far beyond. Chinese companies, often with significant government support, began acquiring mines, securing supply agreements, and investing heavily in mineral-rich regions across Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. From the vast cobalt mines of the Democratic Republic of Congo to the lithium fields of the Andes, the threads of China's influence began to spread, weaving an intricate web across the global supply chain. Yet, the true genius, and indeed the most potent aspect of China's monopoly, doesn't lie solely in extraction. Mining is only half the battle. The real bottleneck, the Achilles heel of the Western world, is processing capacity. Extracting rare earths and other critical minerals from the earth is a dirty, environmentally damaging, and technically challenging business. It involves sophisticated chemical separation and refining processes to convert raw ore into usable metals and compounds. While Western nations largely outsourced these polluting and expensive operations in pursuit of cheaper goods and cleaner domestic industries, China embraced them. They invested massively in the necessary infrastructure, developed advanced refining technologies, and established vast processing hubs. Today, China controls over 80% of the world's processed rare earths and a dominant share in the refining of other vital minerals like cobalt and lithium. This isn't just a competitive edge, it's a chokehold. This unparalleled dominance has profound geopolitical implications. Imagine a nation's technological future, its economic growth, and even its national security held hostage by a single foreign power. In moments of tension, the threat of restricting access to these essential materials becomes a potent form of economic leverage. We've seen glimpses of this power. In 2010, following a maritime dispute, China temporarily restricted rare earth exports to Japan, sending shockwaves through global markets and serving as a stark warning. The message was clear. China's control over critical minerals is not merely commercial, it is an extension of its state power. This creates an inherent supply chain vulnerability for any country dependent on these materials, forcing them to navigate international relations with an added layer of caution and subservience to Chinese interests. The West, for too long complacent, has finally awakened to this alarming reality. The once ignored problem of Western dependence on China for critical minerals has transformed into a pressing national security concern. Governments like the United States, through initiatives like the Critical Mineral Strategy, are now frantically pursuing reshoring efforts, trying to rebuild domestic mining and processing capabilities. They're investing in new technologies for diversification strategies, exploring alternative materials, and developing advanced recycling technologies to recover valuable elements from electronic waste. However, after decades of neglect, catching up is a monumental task. Establishing new mines is a lengthy and environmentally challenging process. Building processing plants requires massive capital investment and expertise that has largely been lost. The infrastructure gap is immense. The silent resource war continues, It's a complex multi-front battle fought in boardrooms, geological surveys, scientific labs, and diplomatic chambers across the globe. China's monopoly on critical minerals is not just an economic advantage. It's a cornerstone of its assertive geopolitical influence and a fundamental challenge to the existing global power balance. The future of innovation, the pace of the green energy revolution, and the very resilience of national defenses hinge on which powers can secure access to these indispensable elements. The question is no longer if this battle defines our era, but who will ultimately control the keys to the future, and at what cost. The silent resource war, ignited by the insatiable demands of our technological age and fueled by decades of strategic foresight from Beijing, has unequivocally reshaped the global chessboard. We've seen how China's monopoly over critical minerals has forged a potent tool of geopolitical influence, turning seemingly obscure elements into levers of immense state power. But as the full weight of this strategic vulnerability finally registers in Western capitals, the world stands at a critical juncture. The question is no longer if we must act, but how, and at what cost, can we reclaim our technological sovereignty and redefine the very concept of global supply chain resilience. The response from nations like the United States, the European Union, Australia, and Canada has been a frantic, multi-pronged effort. This is a global scramble for diversification. Governments are pouring billions into reshoring initiatives, attempting to revive domestic mining and processing capacity, a monumental task after decades of decline. They are forging new alliances with countries rich in untapped critical mineral reserves, from Greenland to nascent projects in Africa, aiming to establish more secure, ethical, and alternative supply chains. The goal is clear: reduce the crushing Western dependence on any single source, especially in an era of heightened geopolitical competition. This isn't just about securing materials. It's about regaining control over the foundational building blocks of their national security and economic future. Yet, this desperate race for new sources exposes a darker, often ignored truth: the immense ethical and environmental cost of this new gold rush. The extraction and processing of many critical minerals are inherently dirty. They consume vast amounts of water, generate toxic waste, and often rely on unsustainable or exploitative labor practices, particularly in regions like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where cobalt mining is often linked to child labor and unsafe conditions. The pursuit of a green energy revolution cannot come at the expense of human dignity or the planet's health. This forces a critical moral dilemma. How can we ensure responsible mining and sustainable sourcing when the global stakes are so astronomically high? It's a challenge that demands transparency, stricter regulations, and global cooperation, often against powerful, entrenched interests. The long-term answer, however, might not lie solely in digging more holes. The true revolution is emerging in the labs and recycling plants of the world. The concept of the circular economy for critical minerals is gaining traction. Imagine urban mining, recovering vast quantities of lithium, cobalt, and rare earths not from the ground, but from the millions of discarded smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicle batteries. Advances in battery recycling and material innovation are creating pathways to extract these valuable elements with far less environmental impact. Scientists are tirelessly researching new material compositions that require fewer, or even none, of the most geopolitically sensitive minerals. This pursuit of next-gen technology and sustainable solutions represents a crucial front in the resource war, offering a potential escape from the current state of Western dependence and supply chain vulnerability. We stand at the precipice of a new era. The traditional battlefields are silent, replaced by an intricate dance of geopolitical strategy, technological innovation, and the relentless pursuit of obscure elements. The control over critical minerals isn't just about economic might. It's about defining who leads the future of technology, who drives the green energy transition, and ultimately, who dictates the global power balance for decades to come. This unseen conflict touches every aspect of our lives, from the devices in our hands to the very stability of nations. It's a testament to how profoundly simple elements can shape the destiny of humanity. The question that remains is, will humanity rise to the challenge of sustainable sourcing and shared progress? Or will the New World Order be forged in the brutal crucible of resource nationalism? The answer lies not just in the ground beneath our feet, but in the choices we make right now.